Did you know that in Russia, everything is always all right? I kid you not. Let's take a few examples from our recent lifetime. Poverty. Poverty before 2010 was kind of non-significant in Russia, but every year since 2010, Vladimir Putin would come out publicly and say that the Russian government did a significant improvement and decreased poverty. It did a great breakthroughs in fighting poverty every single year. Year after year, Russia, according to Vladimir Putin, had less and less poverty. And now, in 2023, poverty in Russia is huge. Well, but everything has been all right nevertheless. Or let's take special military operation. That's the fancy way to call war with Ukraine in Russia. 14 months it's been going on. Russian army took only two major cities in Ukraine and retreated from one of them, Kherson, advanced onto Kiev, and then withdrew back into Russian territory. And now there's a long front line with no significant progress on the Russian side. The losses have been catastrophic, and there's no result to show whatsoever. If a bystander looks at the situation from afar at a glance, she'd say, it's a disaster. But the very same people, or rather, I shouldn't call them people, the propagandists, who were telling us that Russian army is almighty and can take Kiev in 3 days without even running out of breath, and the Ukrainian army is non-existent now, the very same people, they're looking at these disasters and assuring Russian people that everything is all right. Everything is all right. Well, let's take Russian economy. Huge problem. Over 1,000 of industry-leading companies, Western companies, have left in the last 14 months, taking everything along with them: people, jobs, technologies, equipment, complete economic isolation in Russia. Around 3 million young Russians, mostly males, have left the country permanently. Russia lost half of its oil and gas revenue. This is a catastrophic disaster for economy. The reserve fund of Russia is getting depleted fast. The budget deficit is at the levels unseen before. Again, if you take a bystander, a normal person with a little bit of common sense, and have her take a look at the Russian economy, she'd say something like, "What have you done?" Yet Vladimir Putin makes the public address in February and addresses all of us, all the Russians, assuring that everything is, you guessed it right, all right. He has real strange all right, But once in a while, in the blue moon, so to speak, Putin comes out and says that there is trouble somewhere. And he usually doesn't stress it. He says it like it's not a big deal. He says it kind of among other things. Oh, you should know that if he mentions trouble, the trouble is huge. And he just did that. He mentioned trouble. This time, it's the real estate market in Russia. Russian commercial banks prepare player one. Howdy, everyone. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where I give you news updates that I find important. that explain what's really happening in Russia. What you will not find on this channel is lies, BS, and propaganda. What you will find on this channel is truth, common sense, and logic, and emotions, because I am human being. Inside Russia is where usual Russia, explained by the unusual Russian. In the first 30 or so minutes, I usually give my message, daily message, and then I invite everyone to join to converse in the live stream chat. I would love that. Thank you so very much for coming today and giving me a chance to deliver my message. And the message will be about real estate market and its current state in Russia. Real estate market, real estate in general. It's one of the foundations of any economy, and I bet you know that. Real estate. Performance of real estate market tells you that, basically tells you a lot of a current state of economy in any country. It and actually is so powerful factor that it can either break or make economy. Let's take a look at the example of the United States of America. The year 2001, there was a recession, not a big one. It was offset by real estate. Lots of money was pumped into real estate, and it was like a driver to the economy. It didn't allow the economy to fall low, and it kind of propelled it. And then look what happened in 2007. That very same real estate market buried American economy for different reasons that time. But first it made it, and then it broke it. So the real estate, and it's just not the United States. It's every country. It's hugely important for economy. So real estate is one of the foundations, a very, very solid foundations. And picture this: Vladimir Putin comes out and says, well, before I get into what he said recently, let me take a few steps and tell you about a few steps back and tell you about what has happened in the Russian economy in the past 30 years. Very fast, it wouldn't take me long. First things first. When I talk of Russian real estate market, I divide Moscow and St. Petersburg, that's standalone real estate market, then large Russian cities, then the countryside. In Moscow and St. Petersburg, it's only apartments, there are no houses. In large Russian cities, it's a mix of apartments and houses, homes, but mostly apartments. And in the country, it's mostly houses. The price trends are universal throughout entire Russia. Moscow and St. Petersburg also follow the trends. It's just the real estate there is more expensive. If prices go up in Russia, then they go up in Moscow, and vice versa, Now let's do a historic overview, very fast one. In the last 30 years, Russian real estate always grew until recently. There were a couple setbacks. In 1998, there was a crisis, and the real estate prices went down. And in 2008 and in 2016. But it was nothing major, not one single big crash. After every setback, real estate market rebounded quite fast from 2 to 3 years, and there was a huge rally from 2002 to 2008. I remember it quite well, because in 2004 I returned to Russia, and instead of buying an apartment right away, I rented. That was a mistake. I saw apartment prices grow by 10% every single month. You heard me right, 10% every single month. It was crazy. To say that Russian economy was booming is to say nothing at all. We were making, like all of us, we were making tremendous amount of money, unseen before. If you follow my streams, I talked about it a few times, and the real estate market was the embodiment of this economic wave that was going up. The prices were just crazy. Everyone was looking in awe. Okay, so I finally decided to buy instead of renting in 2006. The apartment I could get, I could have paid $95,000 for, healthy 80, 90 square, nine, say 800 square feet, 80 square meters apartment in Moscow. In 2004 cost about $95,000, perhaps 90. When I was shopping, it was more than double. It was 225 or 250 or something like that. That was a huge amount. So I started shopping for an apartment, and at that time I was divorced. It took me 4 months to find an apartment, and the process looked like that. My real estate agent would call me up, and no matter what I was doing, I was in a meeting, I was doing work, as I was at work, she'd call me up and she said, "An apartment opened up. I'll see you in 15 minutes, and bring the down payment in cash." So I would stop doing what I was doing. I would jump into my car. I would drive there. By the time I'd make it there, they would be a few people, and someone would be making an advance payment. So basically, someone would be taking the apartment. And I remember I watched 20 apartments like that. That was definitely sellers market, not buyers. Not the buyers were on the bad side of the stick, so to speak. I was definitely seller's market. Well, I bought an apartment. I successfully sold it in a few years. But now, 2008 happened and the prices went down a little bit, not but much. They rebounded in 18 months and they kept on climbing. Then 2016 happened. That was the first year when Russia started feeling sanctions, so to speak. Mid 2015, but the economy works slow. So there was lots of inertia, and in early 2016, all businesses, well, there was a recession in Russian economy, and the apartment prices started going down, deflating. Deflating, is that the right word? Decreasing, all right. I decided, I also remember well that period, because in 2017, in the beginning, I moved to Moscow, and I moved my family to Moscow, and I bought our current apartment. Prices dropped, and the market was dead for almost a year. So there were tons of offerings and very few buyers. And I remember if you wanted to look at an apartment, the seller would be right there, literally. And the seller would be looking into you and saying, "I can go down in price, how much do you want?" I ended up getting a discount of over 10%. And for a house or apartment, that's huge, okay? There were tons of offerings. Our apartment block alone had a few apartments just like I bought. I picked the best floor, 24th out of 25th, with a nice view. So it's definitely buyer's market, okay? Since 2017, Russian economy somewhat started picking up because prices of oil were going up and the prices of gas, and the steady growth was in the real estate market as well. Prices have doubled since 2017. If we're talking, let's say, mid of last year. Now, let's fast forward to today, year 2023. Russia has turned into the kingdom of lies and the land of curved mirrors. But that's not what I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about real estate. And imagine this now. Vladimir Putin comes out of this hiding, that doesn't happen too often, and says that there is trouble in Russian real estate market. This is the first time I hear him saying there's trouble somewhere since the start of war. He says, among other things, just like, oh, and there's trouble in the real estate market. But we really all know what it means in reality. Big, huge trouble. I quote Vladimir Putin. Certain imbalances are also beginning to arise in the real estate market. So-called overstocking occurs, which in the future may lead to reduction in construction. It is necessary, of course, to reduce these risks. No shit, genius. Now, let's take a deeper look into what has happened with the real estate and why Vladimir Putin is concerned. Some facts about today. Now listen to this very carefully. There are over 70 million square meters of housing. That is roughly 800 million square feet. Think about the number of unsold new apartments and houses, mostly apartments, in Russia. Again, 70 million square meters, that equals to 800 million square feet. 800 million. Moscow alone has 10 million square meters, that is about 110 square feet of unsold housing. That's about 2% of the entire housing in Russia. Now, those of you who know a thing or two about housing, who are in the business of construction of houses, or in financing, I think you will understand these numbers very well. 2% of the entire housing is brand new and unsold. Putin calls it overstocking. No. All right, I won't go there. Wait a second. When I heard that numbers, I thought, just 2 and 2 doesn't add together. Something's up. No wonder. The logic starts failing me here. Perhaps I'm getting old. But last year, every single propagandist and his brother constantly sang the song that Russian economy was doing great. And one of the examples, they were giving the real estate, new construction. They were saying, look, despite what the collective West, led by the evil Satanists, Americans, did to us, look how great Russian economy is doing. And Russian large home builders commenced 100 million square feet, that's 1 billion and 100 million square feet of new housing. Now, again, last year, 100 million of new construction, of square meters of new construction, over 1 billion square feet of new construction was commenced by Russian, basically large corporations, large developers. That's an absolute record in the entire Russia's history. And they were saying, look, this is the achievement. But now, mere months later, Vladimir Putin comes out and says, well, there's a trouble because there's overstocking. It turns out that in early 2023, 70% of what they built last year, they cannot sell. They have not sold it, and their chances that they will sell are very small. That is actually a huge indicator of how Russian economy is really doing. These numbers go well with everything I said before in my earlier streams. despite what some Russian experts, bloggers, reporters, propagandists, let alone say, economy is landsliding. People's incomes have decreased by a great deal. People cannot afford to buy new housing anymore. Gosh, they're selling off in large numbers. I have not seen. It's easy to check. You just go and look at a Russian website called Avito or Tsian, equivalent of Zillow or Redfin, and you just look how many properties are on sale. Definitely buyer's market. Why people selling so much? Because they can't afford? Because they need money? Because they downgrade? Okay. Again, my logic is falling. I'm too old, but I understand when people doing great financially, when economy is doing great, people have their incomes increase and they buy real estate, they upgrade, they improve, they invest. But houses economy is doing great, but everyone is selling off the real estate. What the fudge? Wait a second, how about the prices? The real estate prices actually were growing until very recently. How is this possible? Well, let's take a look and let's discuss that. The growth that happened since 2017, remember I told you when I was buying an apartment, it was the low of the market, okay? And now the prices have doubled. So the growth was artificial. 6 years. Starting 2019 and definitely the COVID years, Russian government, knowing well of importance of real estate market and seeing that was stagnation in the real estate market, it knowing that it could make or break economy, they started helping real estate, supporting with cheap money. They knew and they know that if it falls, it'll bring everything along with it. So they started helping people by creating numerous discounted mortgage state-funded programs. There were all kinds of programs until recently. Programs for first buyers, programs for retired military men, programs for state employees. Just too many to remember. I remember a friend of mine was telling me, let's buy an apartment and rent it out because there's money is so cheap. The mortgage is just a couple percent now. The government started pumping cheap money and basically forcing real estate onto people. And people kept on buying. Well, they thought they're smart. It got so bad that lately the mortgages that the banks would give to people, imagine that 80% of their income, the borrowers would pay for a mortgage. Can you imagine you make, I don't know, $1,000 per month and you pay $800 in mortgage and you have $200 left for everything else? That is very unhealthy balance. That's very risky mortgage. But central bank actually supported that and encouraged banks to do that. And they were doing that. And then that way the real estate market, new construction was growing, the real estate market was growing, the prices were growing. They artificially doubled in prices. And this has come to the end now. Russia's central bank woke up and finally, I think they understood it was not good all along, but they were doing it anyway. Now they finally started openly saying that it's not good. Russian central bank head Elvira Nabiulina recently announced a great concern. She said that there was a bubble growing in the Russian real estate market. Well, I should say for the third time, no genius, like she didn't know that before. And what happens now is central bank has stopped all the mortgage programs. All right, it's cooling off the market, so to speak. But there are three dangers right now. First, people simply aren't buying because they don't have money for that. They don't have incomes. There are multiple reasons for that. War, loss of job, inflation, economic uncertainty, political uncertainty. Um, Many have used up their reserves over the last 14 months, tapped into their savings accounts, so to speak. In Russia, we say, there's a saying, "Не до жиру, быть бы живу." Means in hard times, um, it's no time to have fat. It's just, we'd be lucky just to survive. So people stop buying and they start selling, right? What happens to the real estate prices? They go down usually. But last year there was a phenomena. When there's uncertainty with exchange rate, when ruble is devalued, there's people don't understand what is happening. You know what the cheapest way, not the cheapest, the easiest way to save your money? Buy real estate. Because real estate, well, rarely, it never goes down in price. Over a long period of time, it grows up. Not this time in Russia. Real estate prices will not go up for a long time now, but that's a different story. So what people started doing last summer, they started buying like crazy because they were trying to save up, to keep their savings, to safeguard their savings, so to speak. And the prices went up temporarily, but starting December, people stopped buying because this, boom was off. And the prices started falling, and the number of deals, the sales, have decreased since December. It's been decreasing steadily. Every single month, the prices of number of sales go down. So that's the first danger, that people are not buying because they don't have money. Their incomes are lower. The second danger, current mortgages. Now, there are two types of homeowners in Russia: the ones who own, and quite a few of them, and the ones who have mortgages. That's minority, but still, huge amount of mortgages out. And simply, like I said, people are running out of money. What happens when a person stops making payments on mortgage? Well, usually that's how it works in Russia. Bank sends you a notice in the first 30 days, basically a 2 months period. You have 60 days to start making payments again, to catch up on your payments. If you don't, after 2 months, bank simply notifies you that it starts the procedure of repossession. And it's a fairly easy and transparent process for a Russian bank to repossess the house. And they do that all the time. But banks they're not in the business of owning houses or apartments. They're in the business of making money. And to them, a house or apartment is a real estate, is just a number, right? What they need to do is they need to recover their losses and make profit. So they repossess the house and they immediately sell it. There are different departments in banks that sell real estate and other commercial property and other personal property. They repossess everything, cars, and including real estate. So real estate is considered low risk. The mortgage is considered low risk financial instrument because bank can always repossess a house and apartment and sell it with one condition: that market allows that. What happens now is lots of people will be defaulting at once. I said many times, a wave of defaults, personal and corporate, is coming, and that wave has a chance to bury Russian banks. So the wave, well, it's already happening. There are tons of defaults on, credit card loans, personal loans, and things like that. But that's not a lot of money compared to real estate. Real estate is simply size of amount of money loaned is much bigger. So what happens when the market is crazy like right now and no one is buying and everyone is selling and banks start repossessing houses and they add to the market that is already filled with the properties for sale up to yin yang, okay? The banks add, therefore they drive prices even lower, therefore they have trouble selling, therefore even if they sell at much lower price than they expect. And that put them into red. And for a bank to be in the red is not good, okay? So this is a huge concern for commercial banks. And the Russian central bank won't bail them out. I mean, it probably will few banks, but not all and not many, I should say. So that's concern danger number 2 for real estate market. And danger number 3 is very obvious. Vladimir Putin, why did he come out and spoke publicly about problem in real estate market, overstocking? Because that's not your tiny little problem, that's huge. Imagine how much money it cost to build 100 million square meters of housing. Over 1 billion square feet of housing. A lot. Right now, prices in Russia in 2022, they went up for everything because everything is imported. Russia doesn't manufacture anything, and the prices for construction materials, they've been crazy, okay? So it cost the developers much more money to finish that housing last year than they expected. And of course, they work just like in any other country. If they want to develop, to make a large project, they don't invest their own money. They probably come up with down payment, but they go to the banks and the banks finance. I mean, before 2022 and 2023, it was a not very risky business because apartments were always bought, okay? Not anymore. Even Vladimir Putin himself came out and said this, overstocking. The biggest problem, though, for overstocking is there's no improvement of the situation inside anywhere, okay? There are simply no reasons for Russian people to start buying apartments in numbers anytime soon. On the contrary, the situation will be worsening. Things will get worse and worse by month, okay? So in real estate, fewer and fewer buyers, more and more sellers, including banks. And people will be competing with banks and the prices will crash sooner or later. But then guess what? When a large developer takes out a loan and develops a huge complex, let's say, I don't know, 5 million square feet of housing, how much money is that come out of a commercial bank? That's a lot. And then what happens if that housing is not sold? Well, the developer stops making payment, defaults on payments. And then what happens to a commercial bank? It goes in and basically it repossesses the company or repossesses the housing, whatever. And it cannot sell it either. What happens to a commercial bank then? It goes under. So, real estate in Russia is not at good shape at all. It's actually in such grave danger right now that even Vladimir Putin came out and announced it publicly. This situation with real estate will be one of the drivers, along with the loss of oil and gas revenues, that will bring Russian economy down. Moreover, Russian economy is on the way down and real estate situation is simply increasing its motion. The crash will happen very soon. My estimation before fall. Well, time will tell. We'll see if I'm right or I'm wrong. So, if you hear from someone, from any Russian propagandist, politician, blogger, or from whoever, that Russian economy is doing great, my friends, you can take those words and shove them up down his throat. Thank you so very much. This has been my message. Thank you for coming, giving me a chance, listening and watching. I would like everyone to join live stream chat and let me know what you think. Words of encouragement would be nice. It's always nice. Thank you. Before I turn live stream chat on, as usual, I am asking you to do a couple favors. First, please help me spread the message, my message. Please make reposts in your social media accounts of this message. That helps. Second, would you please consider signing up for my Telegram channel called Inside Konstantin's Russia, where I make announcements. And if you liked what you just heard, you can consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel, because I make these updates and live streams every single day. So turning on the live stream chat, thank you. Boom. And it's on. Welcome to the Sunday. Hope all is well with everyone. If you're not seeing live stream chat, please hit the refresh button and it'll appear in large, not large, but right next to picture. Just what I did. Hang on 1 second. I'm seeing the wonderful mods. Lorna and Mommy, of course, #1. They always #1 for me. Aisma, howdy. Sveiki. Mods, thank you so much for coming. Amir, I see. Bob S. Black Cat. Harry Potter. Wow, full house today. Howdy, friends, and howdy, usual suspects. Great to see everyone. Hope everyone is having a good Sunday. If you want me to notice your message, please put it in caps and put inside Russia after @ so it appears in a large orange box, just like Silas Larson did. And the first question is, China has 50+ million empty, poor quality investment apartments that have never been inhabited and are in bad areas. Isn't Russian overbuilding more like 200,000 apartments? Well, Russia has 100 million people. China has 2 billion people or close to it. So, I mean, that's a huge difference, okay? I'm not sure about how many apartments China has and how well it's doing. I don't think it's doing well, that well at all. But what I can tell you, Russia is not doing well with that overstocking at all. We have a new sponsor, Dominic Leonard. Thank you. Welcome to Inside Russia. And Kieran Whitfield, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm reading the comments in caps from Panda Che. Howdy. Pamela J. followed that. Good. Bob S. and Harry Potter. Howdy. White Lightning. Do you think the real estate vacancies are tied to population decline? That's a factor. You see, in economy and in the markets, there are many factors. they always combine, and they have combined effect. And real estate also has combined effect. It's not just population decline, okay? Because population decline is slow. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens year after year. But what happened in Russia is the exodus of people. Guess what is the most pressing concern for most people who come to the Breakfast Club? Real estate. Everyone is trying to sell real estate because they have some real estate left in Russia, and it's money. People had been investing for years to actually buy real estate and own it, and you know, and now all of a sudden they are in danger of losing it. And I mean, not like selling for cheap, but losing it. There are new laws. The Russian senators currently discussing, oh, we should take everything from those who left Russia because they're traitors. That is not comforting, trust me. So we come in the morning, and a few things we talk about in the beginning, usually it's the news about Russia, and everyone has questions about real estate or news about real estate. Oh, I sold it. Oh, I can't sell it. Oh, I went down on price by 30% and still I cannot sell it. Things like that. So it's not the population decline, but one of the big factors is that lots of people left all of a sudden and trying to sell. That's why that includes into a large number of offerings. X-Flying Tiger, howdy. John and Nikki, Lake Shasta. Regarding real estate market, do people tend to move during the summer in Russia so that their kids can enroll into new school before fall? Late summer demand goes up? No. John, Russians don't move ever. If you buy an apartment, you most likely to stay there. I don't know the statistics, but like 9 out of 10 people stay where they buy for like decades. And if I was to stay and my family were to stay in Russia, then we would definitely stay in the same place for 10 years. So Michael would go to the same school, so he would make friends, lifelong friends, and he'd go to the same school. He'd be under the same teachers. That's very important to us in Russia, and we don't move back and forth like that. Definitely not in the summertime. Mark my words, in the summertime, the offerings on the real estate market will be twice as many offerings as now. Mikael Asp, thank you. Mike from Sweden, just like watching your streams. Keep going. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it. Sending warm hugs to Sweden. I bet it's not too warm. Warm here, hot here in Tashkent. But you know what? It's just weather. It doesn't matter. Thank you so much. Manus, howdy. Great questions from you. Thank you. China has been overstocking for quite some time. What is the price of coffee? What is the price of coffee? Manus, I'm being slow today. I'm sorry. Hey, listen, let's get in touch after the stream. I didn't get that about what's the price of coffee. Carson Larrymore, do state employees own real estate? Of course they do. It doesn't matter if you're a state employee or in private business, in private sector, it doesn't matter. During USSR, was anyone allowed to own real estate? Carson, that was interesting situation. People had real estate, but they didn't own it. The state owned it, but it would give to a person for life. and the person had the right to give it to kids. Okay, so it was quasi private property. So everything in the USSR belonged to the government, except for houses and land. I think you kind of owned houses and land, but those were in the villages, not in cities, big cities, and everyone was trying to make it to the city because living in village was not well. Okay, so hope I answered your question. Crusader Damien with great questions as usual. Great to see you. Thank you. Evergrande real estate China is in deep trouble. Russia is a much smaller economy, is worse at Russia cannot recover. Also, Crimea is on fire. Sale and soon properties will be abandoned. Well, I cannot comment on properties will be abandoned. We will see soon. Time will tell. But Crimea properties are on fire sale. That I saw with my own, well, didn't see, but I know because I have friends in Crimea. I have family in Crimea. My father was born in Crimea, and my aunt and her family, my cousin, my nephew, and some other family members, they lived in Crimea all their lives. They didn't move out of there anywhere. So the information coming out of there, a friend of mine, Ukrainian, who owned a very nice house in Yalta. Yalta is a pearl of Crimea. It's like, I don't know, Monte Carlo of Russia. So he owned a nice house, fantastic house, and he was so proud of that house. He loved it so much. He was born and raised in Yalta, and he sold it. He sold it. He had a wine and whiskey collection. He had all kinds of hi-fi music equipment as a musician. He had like guitars. He sold it with everything that he had been collecting all his life. He sold it for cheap last year, and he told me that, you know what, I'm lucky to sell it. So as soon as he sold, he has two passports, Ukrainian and Russian. As soon as he sold, he moved to the United States on a refugee visa, Ukrainian refugee visa. I think he moved to Los Angeles, I'm not sure. But he told me that last year, people were selling like crazy. Huge, just like you said, fire sale, and that's true. Thank you. Wanda Pease, what is the birth rate in Russia now? No one knows. There's no statistics for the last year and this year. Depressions means fewer children. Better believe it. I know the statistics for Viagra sales in Russia. Not Viagra, but equivalent, to get erection, to have sex. Sales have skyrocketed. It means that men are not functioning the way that they used to. That will definitely lead to less babies. And not just that, people don't want to make babies in Russia anymore because there's a huge uncertainty. What is going to happen? If baby is born, it'd be much more difficult for families to survive, and the baby would be at risk. Baby is a huge drag if you have to run somewhere, if you have to move, fast. So families have put off making babies, and this is a huge problem. And this is one of the this. I don't know how to say that system, the foundation problems. Are you planning on any member of the Breakfast Club buying an apartment in Tashkent? Me? Why would I be planning for other people? If so, please make a video. Thanks. I kind of don't like the name, Nazik. Some people are considered. You see, there are two kinds of people at Tashkent Breakfast Club, in Tashkent in general, not just in Breakfast Club. The ones for who Uzbekistan is a transition point, and the ones who its destination. I would say 20-25% it's the destination, 75%, perhaps 70 is a transition. But a lot of people are in long transition. Some people, they're ready to stay here for years, couple years, 1 year to move to another place. So those who are to stay permanently, they're buying. It's not easy and it's not cheap. Prices here, you don't want to know. You as a foreigner, well, I as a foreigner, in order to get a Uzbek green card, must buy a property for at least for $300,000, and I have to pay 30% tax because I'm a non-resident on top of that. So I would have to invest $400,000, and it would get me a real nice apartment, but nothing, no, a little fancy, Uzbek style fancy. Large one too, probably 1,500 square feet, something like that. But that's the prices for you. I will not make a video. I'm sorry, because it's a very personal matter. If someone would allow me, I would, but I have not heard of such people. Crusader Damien, Pearl of Russia. Did I say Pearl of Russia? I apologize. Yes. I mean the Pearl of Ukraine. Yeah. Well, it's currently, this is where the confusion kicks in. Okay. I will say once for all, Crimea was annexed by Russia, and Crimea is Ukrainian. But for the past 9 years, right? Is it 9 years? Crimea, in fact, has been a part of Russia because there's Russian police in Crimea. There is Russian laws work in the Russian courts, Russian army. And this is what I mean, like a pearl of Russia, because currently Crimea is Russian. But it certainly was annexed. Okay, make no mistake about that. Daniel McInnes, thank you so much. Great work, Constantine. Thank you from Canada. Thank you so much. Sending my love to Canada. Folks, why are you always trying to catch me? Like, don't you know my stand on things? Do I have to explain myself every single time? Famous Maynard, thank you so much. Thank you. Folks, I will try hard to upload the video. It takes a long time to edit. I actually, after the stream yesterday, I started making posts, community posts, and started editing, fell asleep right at the computer. I almost done editing. I will try to upload it today, if not, then tomorrow morning early, our trip to the mountains with folks who are members of the Breakfast Club. And guess what? Today, we had a fantastic meeting. On Sundays, well, I said many times that we meet every single day for breakfasts. And every Sunday, except for Sundays, on Sunday, we meet at a different place, at a larger place where a bigger audience shows up because, people have off, Sundays off. And on one day, I had this idea. I figured that each one of us who fled Russia is an expert in something. And we would pick one expert and he would share interesting information with everyone. I call it lectures, Sunday lectures. There's basically tons of people show up. Today, I was the lecturer. This is the third time I shared with people what I know. I shared information on the United States. There were tons of questions. Like every second person in the Breakfast Club wants to move to the USA or Canada. And I explained, I shared my experience of living in the USA, how USA looks like, what I think of it, and what different states are, and what political parties are, and so forth. They were, um, I think, around 50 people, and I had a free breakfast this morning because the speaker does not pay for breakfast. People, just pitch in and they buy him breakfast. Next Sunday, there's a doctor, eye doctor, ophthalmologist, and she will be speaking on how to basically keep your vision, how to keep your eyes healthy. That's a hugely important topic, I think. Back to the question. JM, can Ukraine win the war? Can it win the war? I have no doubt that at the end, Ukraine and Russia will share the same borders that they were a long time before. Ukraine cannot lose with such a support of international community, and Russia cannot win because it's being bled economically. Not only economically, but the economy is huge. It's foundation of everything. And in the long run, have you heard of the latest talks that the international community, G7, they want to ban exports of everything out of Russia? Well, importing, basically buying everything from Russia. Everything, okay? Let me tell you, Russian people started, not people, Russian, well, he's also a Russian person. Dmitry Medvedev freaked out today. I gotta make a community post. Anyway, he had one of those sayings again. Who do they think they are, the Satanists and so forth, But it's not up to him, okay? People are free to make a decision to not buy anything from Russia, okay? It's not up to Russia, it's up to them. X-Flying Tiger, we enjoyed your video about fasting. We agree it's a good thing. Yeah, you watched my video from 2 years ago, right? Thank you so much. Thank you. I can't believe I was called, in a private stream yesterday, I said that I got quite a bit of negative feedback about fasting. I had one viewer making a comment saying, Konstantin, I can't believe you disappoint me so much. You pray to Lord Jesus Christ, and yet you engage into shamanism. Like you practice those shaman practices of fasting. It's not good. And she went on and on and on about like how bad and fasting is like shamanism. I was like, what? Jesus Christ fasted, This is a religious Christian practice. But anyway, I do not engage in shamanism. I pray to Lord every single day. Thank you so much, John, for supporting. KG1, how is the rental sector compared to self-ownership, and does the state provide any of this? Provide any of what? A few questions in one question. First of all, state does not provide free housing to regular people anymore. It does provide free housing to the ones who work for the government. Employees of central bank, they get fantastic apartments worth hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm pretty sure that every single body of the government does not count money when it comes to taking care of the higher-ups. Regular people, very rare occasions, they get free housing. Rental sector, it depends where. If you go to large cities, smaller towns, smaller cities and villages, you will find very few, places for rent and very few people renting. But if you go to Moscow, lots of people rent. It's become a normal procedure. St. Petersburg also, and large cities over 1 million people population. This rental sector is quite developed. In the rest of Russia, it's not so developed. Self-ownership is still huge. Many more people buy than rent. Well, and many more people own than rent, because lots of properties were not bought, but they were inherited from grandparents, from parents who got it from the Soviet state. So there you have it. Carlson Larry Morris, another question. Thank you for support. Do most pensioners already own their places? Most do, yes. If not, how do they pay rent, mortgage on little income? They don't. It's impossible. My mom is pensioner. She gets $130 per month. Barely covers her utility bill. Utility bill, and it's not that bad because she owns. Well, she owns. You could say, she owns a townhouse that you can see in one of my first videos, and she doesn't pay as much for heating, for hot water, for trash removal as folks in the city of Rostov pay. For example, she pays 7,000 rubles out of 10,000 and a half, like 10,500 rubles, her entire pension, and then deduct 7,000 rubles from that. But if she lived in the city, she would have paid 14,000 in utility bills. How pensioners live, I don't know. They probably sell and downgrade, move out of the city. It's really tough to be a retired person in Russia and not having any extra income. Jekyll N, thank you so much for your support. No message. Thank you. I appreciate it. Crusader Damien, we have a large Russian community in Vancouver. Listen, friend, please do not try to challenge me about Crimea anymore. I mean, how can I make myself more clear? Okay. We have a large Russian community in Vancouver. Since the start of the war, our society has become colder. I would suggest understanding that it is not as it was, but we are tolerant people. Thank you. Kinda expected by me. I understand consequences of what Russia is doing to Ukraine. And again, I've said it numerous times. I understand and I humbly accept it because, hey, everybody gets what they deserve. I understand that at first lots of people were saying, oh, it's not Russian people, it's the Russian government, it's Putin. But the longer the war goes on, the more people will get angry and angrier at Russian people. And I understand that. Not much I can do. I mean, I'm glad you're tolerant people. And I'm really thankful for Ukrainians that show up for breakfast. We had 3 families, large families together, 12 people, I think. They come and they sit, we had full house today, so basically extra tables were brought, but still wasn't enough for all people, so everyone kind of packed together. And you know what, Ukrainian families, they were sitting among Russians and eating, and I really appreciate them doing that. I really appreciate them not having a grudge at us. So, Damien, thank you. Svein Johansson, thank you. Can Russian government retract passport license digitally for those who left Russia? Is it possible? What do you mean retract passport license digitally? I have Russian passport. It's a piece of paper. And anywhere I go, it says passport issued in 2022, for example, and good for 5 or 10 years. So it's good up till 27. It's not digital, it's paper. The passport control person looks at my paper passport and says, okay, and just stamps it. My passport is not like anywhere in a flash card or anything like that or in telephone. So there's nothing they can do. What they can do, though, they can make a law that, first of all, would allow Russian government to confiscate everything that we own in Russia. So they would definitely strip of our properties and so forth, cars, apartments, houses, bank accounts, that they can do. Then they can strip us of Russian citizenship. They can do that. That's against the constitution, but hey, these people can amend constitution just like that. It's a game. That they can do that. And then I don't know what would happen then. Vladimir Medvedev, Dmitry Medvedev, I think he wanted to kill everyone who's left Russia. Said that capital punishment should be returned and then all should be executed or something like that. Don't quote me on that. It's back in one of the streams. So that they can do that. There's a problem, not in this department. There's a problem when they announced that they're going to be going after people who reside outside, who left Russia. And I'm putting it into their own words. They're saying putting dirt onto Russia, they need to be executed, even if they live in other countries. That's the real concern. Okay, so forget about the passport annulment or digitally annulled or whatever. That's we would still live. The bigger problem is they would come and kill us. How's Mama? Mama is doing well. Black Cat, hopefully you will see her in one of the upcoming streams. Thank you so much. Thank you for asking. That really warms my heart. And hers too, because she watches the streams. She knows you by name all the way. Wow. Oh, by the way, all the mods, she says hi every time. I think I missed someone's stream. Someone's super chat. I'm still drinking water, no tea, because I'm still coming out of fasting. It's my 3rd day. No, not 3rd, 2nd day. That's right. Tomorrow, I will start drinking tea again. And Larson, I appreciate your efforts to make so strong and captivating, interesting messages every time. Thank you. I learned so much from you. I paid my own membership this time. Thank you so much. Well, and thank you so much for continuing being the member. Thank you. Michael, I hope that you all have a nice walk. Marisa Rossi, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it. Every dollar counts these days. Very appreciated. Terry Carter, 300,000 for an apartment in my area. 300K would get you a real nice house on about an acre of land. That's Tashkent, Uzbekistan for you. I'm telling you, things have become crazy here. We're paying almost Moscow prices for food. And this is Uzbekistan, for goodness sake. Is it safe to immigrate to Russia now? Got a 200,000 ruble month job offer. Well, why don't you do this? You go ahead and immigrate to Russia and get that job, accept that 200k ruble job, and then live for a few months on those 200,000 rubles per month, and then you let us know. How about that? I would be actually willing to bring you into a stream or a video and to interview you, so you would share your experiences on how it is to be living in today's Russia on 200,000 rubles per month for a foreigner. Find a chair, very concerning. If your property can be confiscated, can you legal and notary friends think of some kind of trick, a trust company for properties? Ever since this discussion has appeared in Russian parliament in early December of last year, ever since each one of us thinks extra hard and takes actions to solve this, to lower this risk. Trust me, we have attorneys, we have a very famous financial expert here living in Tashkent, member of a breakfast club, a friend of us, friend of mine. She's a writer of a few books in Russia on taxes. She advises us what to do with the property. It's like a little council of, there are a couple attorneys, there's a very good tax expert, and people can give advice, and they actually do. So everyone comes and said, what should I do? This is my situation. I have this, that, and that. And then, we kind of brainstorm and give solutions. Lots of people sold the property. Lots of people are selling. Lots of people simply gifting to their relatives, and so forth. There are ways, but, you know, trust me, we're not sitting here on our butts and doing nothing. I was, I was, I was doing this talk on America, how difficult to get to America for a Russian citizen, and Ukrainians were sitting, and they were smiling, saying, and I said, you understand? They're like, yeah, it's easy for a Ukrainian to get there, but it's really difficult for Russians. So same with the real estate. Like, there's no problem for Ukrainians with their real estate, with anyone threatening, except, of course, if you live in Mariupol, then you lose everything. But, like, as long as you're on the Ukrainian troop controlled side, then the law is the law, if you know what I mean. In Russia, on the Russian side, everything's changed. So that's just insane. Argon, do you go to church in Tashkent? I do. Not as often because I have mixed feelings about Russian Eastern Orthodox Church now. I go to talk to God, definitely not go to church to see the priests, anything like that. So that's like a meeting point for me. But I'm so disappointed in the Russian church. Diana Smith, thinking about the effect of the property crash in the US in 2008, this feels even more serious. Time will tell, but we'll definitely see. I did not witness myself the property crash in the United States, but the thing is, it recovered in 4 to 5 years. I think by 2013, the property prices were back and situation kind of normalized. So it was not a catastrophic event in the United States. At least how I understand that. Brenda, are the small villages less affected or more so than large cities? I think the smaller villages less affected because people own, almost 100% of people own their houses in the villages, and they're cost so much less than housing in the Russian cities, and the people most likely will not sell. They will not be selling. They will be living there for the rest of their life. So definitely the situation is more affected in the larger cities. Time to pray. Thank you so much for reminding. Sure, let's wrap it up now. Couple questions. Terry Carter, please. That's okay. My family is fine. Um, no offense taken. That, just no problem there. I know that you all, most of you, mostly all here, care about my family, so I thank you for that very much. Diana Smith is if the influx of Russians has altered the economy in Tashkent, has this had any effect on the welcome Russians are getting in the country? No, it does not have the effect. At first, Uzbeks were like a little angry, like, oh, look at that, the prices have jumped and for everything, real estate and the food, but it's not just 100% Russians' influx fault. Tashkent, or Uzbekistan in general, is undergoing economic development stage and a huge development. Lots of foreign money, lots of investments, and Russians have added just a part of it. It's not 100% up to, like due to us coming. So everything has gone in price. Prices were growing even before we came to Tashkent. So locals are very nice people. Locals are still welcoming us with open arms. And another thing is Russians are giving back a lot to Uzbekistan economy. Lots of people started working, generating taxes. Tons of professionals, doctors, like a few doctors come every single week and get jobs at Tashkent hospitals and clinics, both private and public. I think the economy has gotten a big boost from Russians coming. So, my friends, let us pray. Enjoy your Sunday. Let's finish the stream with our usual prayer. Invite everyone to pray along. Thank you so much. Let's do it. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you so much for this day that you've given us this week, this weekend. Thank you for putting food on our tables, giving roofs over our heads. Thank you for surrounding us with people who we love and who love us. Please give us wisdom to keep the skies above our children's heads peaceful and grow our children the way that when they grow up and become adults, they become good people and make this world a better place and will never engage in any wars. Dear Lord, please help stop the bloodshed in Ukraine. The country has suffered so much and people have suffered so much. So please reach out and touch people who have power of make such decision to stop the bloodshed. Have them wake up from the lethargic sleep, open their eyes and realize what a tragedy has been done, so they make the decision to stop the bloodshed. Please help every single Ukrainian who has been affected answer their prayers and make their wishes come true, please. Send every Ukrainian an angel so the angels help and keep people away from harm's way, out of harm's way. Please help my country, Russia. Send the army of your strongest angels with sharpest swords led by Saint Michael to get rid of the demons who have hijacked my country. Have angels run Russia. Have them make it peaceful, respected, and loved country by the actions of the country and of its people. Please help those who are traveling, send them safe travels. Help those who are seeking for asylum, especially families. Send help and good people their way. Please help all the Ukrainians who are suffering without electricity, heat, hot water, and utilities, other utilities. Please send help. so the sufferings end as soon as possible. Please help the hungry, the homeless, the jobless, the depressed, the ones who have low self-esteem, the ones who are suffering with their faith, the ones who lost themselves and lost their way. Shine your heavenly light upon these people and surround them with your warmth and send them your love. Fill their hearts with your love so they feel good about themselves again, and things will start working out for them, and they heal, they feel better, they regain faith, they shake off their depressions, and the light will shine brighter for them. Thank you. Please help everyone who is currently in the process of removal from their housing, from their homes or apartment, and losing their homes or their property, and getting thrown out on the street. People are in distress. They need your help, no matter what the reasons for those decisions. But please reach out to every single person in that position and help them. Please reach out and help every woman who is pregnant and trying to make a decision whether to keep the baby or not. Please reach out to every single woman in that position and speak to all of them, so to their hearts, so they make the right choice. Dear Lord, thank you so much for allowing us to create this community and come together every single day. Thank you for the help that people get through this community. Thank you for connecting all of us. Thank you for allowing us to pray. Help everyone who's praying right now and or just watching us pray. Have every single prayer heard and answered, and every single wish come true. Thank you so very much. I would like to ask you for a few people who need your help. They are Rod, Sandra, Greg, Jim Shirley Hall, Delaney with children, Ann Larson, her family and daughter Hannah, Florentina, Carolyn Ridenour, Patty, Max family, Sherry Morin, CKOC, Brian Wilkes, Lise Dumbrell, Ripted, Lise Dumbrell's grandparents' family, daughter of Aspen English, Ruth, Paul, Alona and her boys, Susan, Rudy Kaisley, Darla, Bib, Ivan Gershkovich, Santa's Whiskey, White Lightning, George Ruberty, Dave Strains, Wayne, Shirley and Debbie, Jen Allen, Finola, Lars Henrik and Lars Henrik's mother, Amanda Radnor, the Highwayman, Essie from the Scottish Isles, Outlander and family, Choriz and family, David Porter, his wife and daughter, and all people in Chernovtsi, Ukraine, Lars, Susan Marshall, Beulah, Lazarus, Boss Simon, Alvin's sister, Teresa D., Garcia Castellanos, Terry Carter, Joe and Lee McMahon, Meta Spencer, Deanna and family, Breeze friend, Caroline, Albina Fell, Michael Yukon, Joel, Live, Karine Vasseur, Pamela J., Lindsay, Larry, Yelena, Natasha, Jake, Michael, Oля, Dasha, Sky, Bonnie, Galina, Igor, Karen, Janine, Michael Milkowitz, Marlene, Paul Binns, Richard, Mallory M., Dirk Misler, James Rhodes, Terry, Richard Burris, Angelic at Life, and Scan Family's grandson, Barb, Randolph, Nelly, Arkady, and Yuri, Harry's family, Verlinda's niece, Ian James, Doug, Priscilla, Michelin, King Nero, Gaby Hyman, Donald, Deborah, Lisa's son, Jade Kaltenberg, Allison Dave Moyers, Mr. Hanson, Heidi, Maureen M., and her sister, Bob, Matt, Ashley and family, Mr. Dean Spooner, and his church called Our Savior Lutheran Church, Lisa Cumrian, Jacob, Adam Oliver, Amy, Treasure, Grace Philosophy, her family and wonderful granddaughters, Kyle's wife, Maggie, Carmen's sister, Vladislav and Sergey from Kharkov, Susie Myler, Gina Wayfarer, Liz, Lori Miles' husband, Sherry, Layla, Philip's mother, Thomas Fall, and his mother. And I would like to ask for a few children. They are Cadence, Sebastian, Maverick, Coulter, Theo, Maddie, Ansley, and Karine Vassar's niece, and every single child who is not feeling well and in need of your help. Please send recovery, send good health, and send strength to their families. Also would like to ask for all children from Ukraine that have been affected. Please send help their way, them and their families, and please help children who have been affected by this tragedy in Russia. Thank you so much, dear Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. My friends, thank you so much. I feel it's been a very important stream because it just gives you a picture of Russia at different angle. So you see what's going on, you understand what's going on, and you understand Russian economy and Russian situation a little better. So I hope everyone enjoyed it. Thank you so much. You are absolutely awesome and you rock. And, before I shut off the stream, I would like to ask everyone to say out loud along with me the usual Carthago delende est. Thank you.